computer. Okay, recording in progress. Yeah, so we should be good to go. And please, Servan, proceed with your presentation.
Yes, okay. So good morning, everyone. I am Servan, working at Orange. I'm a research project manager. And I have the pleasure today to be the first one to start, and I will give you a quick dive into the project we are in, HUBiquitous, its goal and its presented achievements. So next slide, please. Yeah, so what about the consortium? It's a consortium of 9 partners, 5 in Europe, 4 in Africa, plus 1 associated country, which is Kenya. So as you can see in Africa, and I think in Europe, sorry, I don't need to present, but in Africa, we have partner in Ghana, Nigeria, Tanzania, Egypt, and also associated partner in Kenya. So the project started almost 2 years ago and will end by mid-2024. So I think it's a very appropriate time to share with you what we have done so far. Next slide. So what are our objectives? So the first objective we really have in this project is to support the capacity building of African DIH, Digital Innovation Hubs, in IoT and also other disruptive technologies such as edge computing, for instance, artificial intelligence, and to let them and to support them develop new MVPs, new services and applications. Eventually, the goal of the project is also to create a joint Africa-Europe tech and startup ecosystem in these technologies to enable long-term collaborations and partnerships. Next. So what are the needs of African DIH? The needs is that they lack competencies and skills on these disruptive technologies. They also have issues to have access to infrastructure for testing, validating, and do their first deployment. So what they need is ready-to-use application and business development kits, which integrate a large part of technology. And they also need, and this is also very important, and you will see how we manage this in the project, they also need training and business support. So in this project, I told you that the first objective was really to create this capacity building at the level of the hubs. We have engaged 25 local DIH, so 5 in each countries, in 5 African countries that I presented you. And we want to enable them with new technology services and business model. We want to train them, but also, create a vibrant ecosystem with their stakeholders, with young talents, with startups. And okay, that sentence is very nice. It's transforming this DIH into next generation competence center and ensuring wider accessibility and availability of these technology enablers and programs to local African communities. So let me now show you how it works. So this is the implementation approach, and I will detail it. So first, we are going to deploy at DIH what we call the solution lab. So this is a very lightweight physical IoT infrastructures with gateways, with captors, sensors. And to do this and to make it work, we are also going to train people in DIH. So technology experts are going to be trained, and this will be supported by what we call the IoT Learning Center, which is a platform, online platform, where you learn by doing. We are going also to develop several programs and community accelerator talent, and all of this will be supported by an online platform to develop their skills. And next, and the result will be that they will develop their skills. I just said this will support the development of solutions. This will also support testing, experimenting, and also creating MVPs, minimum viable products. Next, please. So now I'm going into details. So the solution lab is already developed, deployed, is in several DIH, and the cost of this solution lab kit is around 550 euros, and with it you can start developing several MVPs. Next. We started also last year to develop the capacity building. So in 2022, we developed this in 10 DIH. And to support this DIH, they also get a voucher of 3,500 euros for being sure that they are committed, because they are going to be, you know, footprint, let's say, in Africa, meaning that they are going to provide the technology experts who are going to be trained, and they are also going to organize in their hubs physical sessions such as bootcamp and hackathon. And of course, this DIH will have access to the entire learning center, IoT Learning Center platform, and they will also receive a solution lab. So they will have digital and physical resources. If we go next, we've got the IoT Learning Center, and you can see on top of the slide where we are positioned while I'm talking, which is accessible on this URL you see in blue. And here we've got three main categories. As a DIH, I have my lab. So it means that here I can manage all the software I've got, and I can have also access to a catalog of IoT hardware, software, open source tools, AI tools, testing infrastructure. On my courses, I can have access to online courses, and my solutions here, I have access to guidelines which are going to guide me step by step to develop IoT solutions. Next, I go very quick because I don't have a lot of time, but of course we are open to all questions at the end or after this session. For this IoT Learning Center, we have already created and published 24 high-quality videos, and they can be accessible on the IoT Learning Center courses. As you've got here a course, an overview of the course catalog. So this is open to our talents. So I will come back to the talents later on. Next, please. So what are the programs? We have developed 3 programs in this project. So the talent program, where we teach people, young talents, where we provide also, we try to provide employment opportunities, and we develop skills on IoT, big data, AI, through webinars and also on the platform, the Learning Center. And what we also do, in partnership with the African DIH, we develop practical training for prototyping and developing. We also have, which is very important in the project, the accelerator program, where we aim at improving innovation for entrepreneurs and startups. And we also have for objective, as I said before, to support joint African and EU projects and ventures. And what we aim at doing eventually is increasing investment opportunities in African startups. And the community program is the backbone of everything in this project, because it aims at building Africa-Europe innovation communities. It's also for engaging through, for instance, soft landing missions, European and Africa stakeholders of innovation ecosystem. Next, please. So talent program, we have 3 cores. The first one was a real success with a total of 363 applications, and we selected 154 young talents, and we organized for them a lot of activities. As you can see here, this is in several units, and at the end they receive a certificate. And I go very quickly through this next, please. So here, I think one image is worth 1,000 words. You can see how dynamic it was with these young talents in DIH. So we started from something which was really digital, and we moved to physical sessions with, let's say, with the best, because not all talents went through all the program, and it was really interesting to have these groups of very, very motivated young people joining for boot camps and prototyping sessions. Next, please. And this is not, this is the next call, which is going to be launched this month. And so stay tuned, and it's open to 5 countries, Ghana, Nigeria, Tanzania, Kenya, and Egypt, or partners in the project. So next, please. So the accelerator program is a kind of incubating program. For the first call, we received 43 applications. Out of them, 26 were eligible. We selected 16 startups, and the objective is really to accelerate them. They came with, next slide, please. All of them came with an idea, more or less developed, as you can see here. And what we try to do is to support them developing technically the MVP, but also really develop a business model, business plan. And next, please. So here you can see how it was organized from the project perspective. So with a mix of business and technological mentoring, coaching, and what is very important, so we are in February, and we are now evaluating the results of this first campaign, this first accelerator program. We are going to give the final awards, and the second open call will be open by April, May this year. So stay tuned to this one. Last but not least, and I think I have still 2-3 minutes, I'm okay. The community program, as I said, it's a backbone. So please visit our website, HUBiquitous.eu. Next. And also subscribe to our different social media channels, Twitter, LinkedIn, YouTube, where you can find, for instance, on YouTube, a channel dedicated to HUBiquitous. Next, please. And also, if you want, subscribe to our newsletter. I think we have more than 4,500 subscribers to our newsletter. And next, please. And also, I wanted to end my presentation with this handbook, which has been, first version has been submitted to the European Commission by beginning of 2023. And I think it's very interesting. This handbook is a very nice way to better understand the African innovation ecosystem with its levers, its challenges, and also available opportunities. And the final release will be ready for mid-2023, and it will be, of course, announced on our different social media channels. So I think I made it in less than 15 minutes. So thanks a lot. I think it was clear. And if you have any question, please feel free to ask. Yes, where is it possible to find the handbook? The handbook is yet not ready. So as I said, it will be ready for mid-2023, and it will be announced in our different social media channels. Thanks for the question.
So thanks a lot, Servan, for your very insightful presentation. I would say that maybe okay. I'd rather the idea was to collect all the questions and maybe address them at the end of the session. Otherwise, this might actually impinge on the time that is left for other presenters to present. So keep sending a presentation in chat, and please, if possible, also note down to whom you're addressing the presentation. Sorry, the question, in this case, to Servan. Otherwise, I'll try to actually find it out myself. but I think we can, and of course, we are very grateful for all the questions you're asking. So we'll try to address them as much as possible later on. Now we can proceed to the next presentation, and of course, it's a presentation, as you might see, it's a presentation of the DIH4AI project and about its outcomes and overview and solutions and impact. And the presentation is given by David Brunelleschi from Intellera Consulting, whom I'm going to unmute now. David? You should, we don't hear you. You should actually be unmuted now. Jaime, do you still hear me? No, what happened there? No, what happened? I'm really sorry. Do you hear me now? Okay, I'm sorry. I was trying to unmute you. I don't know why I probably froze. So 1 second. Okay. Now you should be able. Okay.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, certainly. I'm really sorry.
Great. Thank
Please
you,
proceed.
Massimo, for giving me the power. Good morning, everybody.
It's all yours.
Thank you all, and sorry about the technical inconvenience. Good morning, everybody. It's a pleasure to be here. As Massimo was introducing, David Brunelleschi from Intellera Consulting, part of the DIH4AI project that we were already mentioning in the very introduction of this event. If we could move to the next slide directly, the objective of my quick intervention is to give you an overview of what this project is all about. But in our second session, in our online event this morning, we will be going more in details in what actually the project is doing by seeing some experiments and hearing from some of the digital innovation hubs, which are key players within this project. So I'll try to be very quick and just to give you a general overview of the project. So DIH4AI is an EU Horizon program funded innovation action, which started more or less 2 years ago and has now still 1 year of activities ahead. So more or less like HUBiquitous, we are more than halfway through. So it's interesting already to start commenting on some outcomes and to see what can be done in this final stretch of project activities. As already mentioned by Massimo at the very beginning, the geographical scope here is different because the focus is basically on Europe. So it's an European geographical scope, but the objectives somehow are similar to those that Servan was telling us about also in relation to the HUBiquitous project, where on one hand, it is empowering digital innovation hubs, and on the other hand, it is fostering collaboration among digital innovation hub, with another specific focus here on AI. So the technological focus is mainly on artificial intelligence, while HUBiquitous, as we just heard before, is more transversal across different disruptive technologies. Here, main technological scope is artificial intelligence. In particular, looking at the specific objectives of this DIH4AI project, on one side, this, as I was mentioning before, collaboration wants to be enhanced through technical means, from a technical point of view. So the project wants to build an AI on-demand innovation and collaboration platform environment, a network of platforms where each digital innovation hub will be having its own platform, and these platforms federated together in an interoperable way, but collaboration also from an actual operational point of view, not only technical and technological. So here, the effort of the DIH4AI project to support joint development, joint provision of services to the end users, to the communities which the digital innovation hubs are serving. So basically startups, small, medium-sized enterprises, local public administration. If we move to the next slide, we can see where the digital innovation, the DIH4AI project comes from. No, to the previous one, please. Yes, thank you. And basically it comes from another European Commission initiative, which was a pilot project, a pilot study, which finished right before DIH4AI started in 2021. And it was called AI Digital Innovation Hub Network. This previous project had also in that case a very similar scope and objective as what we heard before, HUBiquitous, because it was meant to create a network of hubs to empower, to train and mentor these hubs, of course, again, with this AI focus. So Digital Innovation Hub focusing on AI. So in that case, in the previous project, 30 digital innovation hubs across Europe were selected out of 150 applications, and these went through the 2 years of activities of this previous AI Digital Innovation Hub Network project. And among the most relevant outcomes of that project, there was the definition of the typical profile, so-called profile of an AI Digital Innovation Hub. So how should it be made, what it should be capable of doing, as well as also at the end of this project, a multilateral cooperation agreement was signed by 25 out of those 30 digital innovation hubs in Europe, which took part to this previous initiative. And finally, something that is now used, and we will see it in the DIH4AI project still today, a structured approach for cross-border collaboration among digital innovation hubs. So these scenarios for collaborations are still a true asset, a pillar of the current DIH4AI project. Finally, last thing I wanted to mention is that one of the outcomes, one of the findings from this previous AI Digital Innovation Hub Network project was the need to link these digital innovation hubs in Europe and beyond, focusing on AI, to another major initiative which the European Union, European Commission has been sponsoring since already some years, first in the context of the big AI for EU project, which is the development of an AI on-demand platform serving the entire European Union. So here, outcome finding that came out from the previous project was the need to connect all these digital innovation hub to this huge AI on-demand platform, which the European Union is currently sponsoring and currently setting up in its development process. If we move to the next slide very quickly, who is in the DIH4AI project, the consortium? It's made of 12 consortium partners coming from 6 different EU countries, as you can see here represented on this little map: Italy, Spain, France, Germany, Czech Republic, and the Netherlands. These are the 6 European countries from which our partnership is coming from, and the project is coordinated by the Politecnico of Milano, the university in Milan, who is driving the project, in which sees the involvement also of 5 digital innovation hubs, which are the core group, those that you can see here highlighted in orange color in our slide now on the screen. These 5 digital innovation hub have been the core group which have started the activities throughout the DIH4AI project. But if we move to the next slide, these are not alone anymore, because the community of AI-focused European digital innovation hubs has grown and is still growing, because there has been already 2 open calls throughout the project to onboard further digital innovation hubs and SMEs through experiments, service experiments, support experiments within the project activities. So a first open call was carried out last year, and through that, 13 additional digital innovation hubs were onboarded, and the second open call is now currently under evaluation, and therefore we foresee in the upcoming months to have at least another 10 digital innovation hubs from across Europe onboarding the project activities. And apart from these, of course, the project is still in contact with the previous network I was mentioning before of those AI digital innovation hubs that were part of the previous project I was recalling before. Plus, and I will mention it also in a couple of minutes, this project, DIH4AI, is within another network of other European projects which are called ICT49 projects, which are also gathering further digital innovation hubs interested in AI, which are joining, which are taking part to the activities we are running in the context of our project. The idea here in a nutshell is that our project wants to be as open as possible to further digital innovation hubs and to reach out. So the invitation here is to keep on following us and to reach out. So please feel free to visit our online website and to register also to our newsletter to stay tuned on what is happening, what will be happening in the context of our project, because we'll be more than happy to share with other digital innovation hubs also from outside Europe what is going on, and eventually try to set out some concrete collaboration opportunities. If we move on very quickly to the next slide, just wanted to mention perhaps the 3 key outcomes of our DIH4AI project. As mentioned, key objective is to foster collaboration between digital innovation hubs. And this is happening basically through those 3 blocks you can see here in the bottom part of this slide. First is a taxonomy, the so-called LBEST taxonomy. It's a 3-level categorization of digital innovation hub services. It's important to speak the same language to understand one another. So by having a common taxonomy of services, hubs in collaborating among them should be able to better understand how they can join forces, how they can compensate each other, how they can exploit potential synergies. Second element, technological platforms. The project is working on setting up specific DIH relevant platforms which are meant to be interoperable among them. So in order to share data information with other platforms of other digital innovation hubs, and especially also with what I was mentioning before, that AI on-demand European platform, the big platform which is currently still developing, to which all these specific digital innovation hub regional platforms should be linking into, should be feeding into, should be connected to. And finally, third element, and we'll hear a little bit more about all these even in the second part of our event this morning, but just to anticipate the collaboration scenarios. I already said something about them when I was referring to the previous AI Digital Innovation Hub Network project. These are typical collaboration scenarios that have been designed in the context of the previous project and are now used also in the context of DIH4AI in order to facilitate concrete, effective collaboration between different digital innovation hubs. And they're basically going in the direction of helping the joint provision of services, the joint matchmaking of complementary competencies, and the development of completely new services that digital innovation hubs could provide to their ecosystems. Final thing I wanted to mention, if we move to our last slide, is something that already I was anticipating. DIH4AI is not working on its own. It's within a wider network of other EU-funded initiatives. You can see their logos here, other 6-7 Horizon funded projects, the so-called ICT49 cluster, in which DIH4AI is part. The objective of this cluster of projects is to all support that huge AI on demand platform I was mentioning before, which is coming to life. So all these projects are contributing to the development of this platform, which will be happening actually more concretely in the upcoming years. But more specifically, what DIH4AI is doing in the context of this ICT49 cluster is running a specific working group focusing on trustworthy AI. So the ethical use of artificial intelligence. There's a specific working group that is working exactly on this, trying to shape a common position and service provisioning regarding trustworthy AI. And on top of this, already mentioned also that DIH specific platforms, our project DIH4AI is making available its DIHiWare platform for digital innovation hubs, also in the context of this ICT49 cluster of projects. This is what I wanted to very quickly share with you this morning. Of course, I'm more than happy to take any questions if there are any, but as anticipated, my colleagues will be providing more information, especially in relation to the specific experiments, the collaboration with the digital innovation hubs that has been going on in the second part of our event today. Thank you very much on my side and happy to take any questions.
Thank you very much, David, for your insightful presentation on this very interesting project. We had some questions in the chat. The first ones are for HUBiquitous, but this last one was for DIH4AI, but I saw that someone already replied to it. So maybe. One second now, because it's maybe I should expand it, because no, I saw that this one was already answered in the chat, most probably by one of your partner, most probably. Sorry, this is becoming a bit too cluttered. So I think maybe I'll ask some questions to Servan, and of course Jaime and David, maybe you can also then communicate your an email to which the further questions can be sent, so that people will actually be able to get in touch directly with you. So I quickly go on some questions that were asked to Servan on HUBiquitous. We might not able, as Servan said in chat, to cover all the questions, but maybe let's pick one or two and see where we get, and then further questions can be sent actually via email. 1 second, I'm going to unmute Servan. Servan?
Yeah, hello.
Okay.
Yes, I read all questions, and actually all of them are more related to the fact that we are now limited to 5 countries. Mm-hmm. And we've got questions from South Africa, Uganda, and also from Somalia, if I'm right. So what I suggested to these participants is to send me directly an email. So you will find my email in the in the conversation. So please send me an email, and I will be happy to follow up with you, because we can see together what we can open to you actually. So I think there are nice opportunities. So please just send us an email. And you've got my email, servan.crave@orange.com.
Okay, thanks a lot, Servan. Indeed, we are always very open to welcome new collaborations, even if for the moment they fall outside outside French speaking countries. Yeah, I think also this last one, HUBiquitous, do you guys not focus on French speaking countries in Africa? Again, it's the potential enlargement of our activities can be discussed with specific partners within the consortium. So maybe a one-on-one chat on this might actually be a bit more beneficial.
Yes, send us a request, and I will be very happy to answer.
Okay. If I don't, 1 second. Okay. So I think we can but correct me, Jaime, if I'm wrong, also by reading the chat, if you see that there's something that can actually be redirected to DIH4AI, and maybe I might have missed it, but okay, I'm trying to keep track of all the questions that are asked, but it's not always easy. So if there are no further questions, I think we are perfectly on time on our schedule. And we can start with the second session of the event. So this session, as said, is about a showcase of DIHs, innovative solutions, and ecosystem connectors. And as the first presentation, we'll have a presentation on AI experiments from DIH4AI. And the presenter is Noemi Luna Carmelo from Intelera Consulting, whom I'm going to unmute now. Should be Noemi. Do you hear us?
Yes. Good morning,
and,
everyone. Yes.
Yeah. Hi. I can also ask you to start the video, so maybe that's easier. Okay. Perfect. So we see you and we hear you. So the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. So I will be introducing this session on AI innovative solution experiment by talking about some tool and the first lesson learned we got through real example of cross the generation apps collaboration. So next slide. Okay. So one of these tools that DIH4AI is using, and also David was anticipating before, is the LBAS service portfolio, which is a 3-level taxonomy that the DIH4AI project inherited from AI Regio, and that is helping the generation apps in collaborating because it is a standard framework so that everybody has the same description and content for services, and actually proved to be very useful for cross-D collaboration. So let's see a bit more in detail how it is made. So DIH4AI also improved this taxonomy of services by adding the L, so the legal ethical dimension. While BES was already from the iRegio project, and we have so legal services, business services, ecosystem services, so helping structuring relations and community building activities. Then we have skill services and of course technology services, so the actual development of hardware and software solutions. Next slide, please. Here you have an overview of all the experiment details across regional dimensions, so where different generation from different European regions are collaborating that DIH4AI is carrying on. So as you can see, we have one business services, many ecosystem, 2 skills, and 2 technology experiments. And they are also organized based on the type of collaboration that is undertaken during the experiment. So we have joint provision of complex services experiments, joint development of collaborative services, and joint matchmaking of complementary competencies. These are the three big collaboration scenarios that, as David explained before, were inherited from ID network project. Here you see also that we have two legal experiments, legal ethical experiments that are some way cross to other dimensions, so ecosystem and legal ethical, technology and legal ethical. If we can go next slide. Yes, I would like to say some word more on the three collaboration scenario, which are the frame within which the experiments of collaboration are carried out. So the first is the joint provision of complex services. So it's a partnership to provide service jointly. So when some lead generation hub has maybe some competence in one area and the other in the other area that could help providing a complex service better, this is already an opportunity for partnership. For example, multidisciplinary summer schools. This is, let's say, the most common scenario of collaboration. Then we have the joint development of collaborative services, which is the second scenario. And here there is already an effort more to collaborate because, of course, you have to do a lot more of activity together to joint develop a new service and innovative services. And then we have the third scenario, which is joint matchmaking of complementary competencies. And here the clue is about creating new opportunities for both the ecosystem. This means that you have to really look for what is missing in one ecosystem, and this can brought about the other ecosystem in a complementary way. Next slide, please. So why undertaking cross-D collaboration? Why collaborate with other degeneration hub? Because of course, AI, we are focusing on AI, as David was explaining, is an extremely wide field, and this is true also for other technology, actually. Available data is still rare, and of course, for the positive benefits that could have peer learning experiences, and also because there is valuable expertise that is spread around the world, I would say. Then what is the core, the content of the cross-D collaboration? The three collaboration scenarios, so developing joint services or providing complex services in partnership, or again, joint matchmake complementary competencies. How to do that? Of course, through brainstorming meeting, by sharing the first draft of something and asking for feedback and revisions, through workshop, physical meetings, and also speed dating, so to have more conversation with different degeneration of realities. These are just suggestions, let's say, for collaboration. Next slide, please. And here we come to the challenges and the lesson learned that we got through these experiments that were already carried out by the DIH4AI and the present projects. So the key challenges in the DIH4AI were that was difficult understanding in very technical terms and very specific technologies due to the impossibility of meeting physically. So a lot of participants to the experiment told us that was very important when they had the occasion to really meet physically, especially for the most complex experiment, of course. Then another challenge that they overcome was the identification of common technologies and interests, so to really find complementarity in the content of the experiments. And the lesson learned were, of course, that was important to have also physical meeting, that there is a need also for having a common repository of services and AI assets to ease collaboration. And then also in some cases emerged the need to translate in local languages, documents and material, especially for small and medium enterprises in the different European regions. And this is all from my side. I will now leave the floor to Jaime Colagnone, from a colleague from Intedera. Thank you.
One second. I'm going to. Eccolo qua. All yours.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Thanks. Thank you, Massimo, and thanks, Noemi, for showing us how these project outputs can help our DHs and maybe even other DHs to collaborate. And also thanks for providing us an overview of the main lessons learned that we are gathering within our project. Hopefully these outputs can shed some light on this matter and provide some useful insight also to other digital innovation hubs present with us today. So before getting into the presentations from two of our DHs, I will just briefly provide some context of what we are doing with our digital innovation hubs and some preliminary information on the two digital innovation hubs that we'll present later. Within our project, our DHs are performing and developing experiments that are divided into two main categories. We have in the first phase the intra-regional experiments that perform experiment activities within their region of reference, and the cross-regional experiments that co-create and co-develop the AI experiments with other digital innovation hubs. Today, we will have the pleasure to see one of our cross-regional experiments, in fact. The objective of these two types of experiments are very similar. Among them, we have a collection and benchmarking of experiences, business benefits, social feedback, and lessons learned, and use the collect information to draw a recommendation document for regional authorities and the European Commission. The main difference is that through the cross-regional, we are preparing and conducting the joint provision, joint development, joint making experiments in cross-DH and regions Europe, thanks to the collaboration scenarios that were anticipated by David and explained by my colleague Noemi. Today with us, we have Fortis and TNO, that are two organizations in charge of our Munich DH and of the South Netherlands DH. We're going to have the pleasure to hear about two of their experiments. Coming back to the topic of cross-regional experimentation, Simon from TNO will show us the experimental facility manufacturing, which is a cross-regional experiment conducted together with Fortis. And later on, Marcus Duchon will show us Fortis' experience with the smart solar box. This experiment actually is not within the DH project, but we thought it was interesting since it has been developed outside of Europe, and it focuses also on a different technology, just to show you that our DHs may have a focus on artificial intelligence within our project, but their scope is way wider. Before passing the floor to Simon, I will just like to highlight the fact that I mentioned before, that within our project, while our project focuses on the artificial intelligence, our DHs deal with various technologies. Here you have a short overview of some of them. We know that the HUBiquitous project focuses a lot on Internet of Things. We have DHs that also focus on this technology. We have software development, robotics, cybersecurity, and also virtual and augmented reality. My short introduction is over, and I'll pass now the floor to Simon, who will show us the AI testing experimental facility manufacturing, and also show us a quick demo of the experiment.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I think Simon, you'll need to share your screen at a certain point, I guess.
Yes.
So you'll have the part of it will be the presentation, then Jaime will unshare and you'll be able to share your screen. Okay,
yeah.
Perfect.
Correct.
First the presentation, so first the talking, and then the real stuff, in that sense, screencast of the stuff that we did. Thank you for the introduction, Jaime. Regarding our experiment, TNO is based in the Netherlands, and what we try to do is AI is popping up within the world, of course. And how can we help the Netherlands from a Dutch perspective in getting to know regarding artificial intelligence and how can manufacturing actually profit from it? So that's about the story of today. How can we grasp the stuff that AI can bring to us, but also some risks and other stuff, and how can it be beneficial for the manufacturing in the Netherlands. So please go to the next slide. But still one step back regarding the project, regarding digital innovation hubs for AI, how it's being done, because I also saw some questions in the chat already, so I can already address them also, how it's being done at the moment. And in our project, Atos, Thomas from Atos is leading the whole technical stuff regarding digital innovation hubs, because within Europe you have the digital innovation hubs, and how are we going to collaborate with them? Because the digital innovation hub is actually a representation of a specific region to connect to each other. So how can, for example, the Netherlands being connected to Italy or to Spain, and for today, especially to Africa? And what we try to do is, besides the whole business thing, how can we also do it from a technical perspective? Well, we have the portal where we can get to know each other, for example, on just the regular general information. But what if we, for example, also would like to share data, and especially share data which could be confidential? And this is where we try to do the middle part, the data part, and it's also where I'm going to discuss today. How can we share data amongst digital innovation hubs in a controlled and secure manner? And this is also what we've done today. And on the right side is the cloud part. So how can we also do the deployment? So please go to the next slide. But just to mention this part being led by Atos. Regarding TNO, TNO is a research and technology organization. So especially what's being developed at the universities, and it's still a bridge too far for the real companies and the real organizations. This is where TNO comes into play from a Dutch perspective in trying to foster the innovation and to grasp it and to see, okay, how can we make it applicable for a lot of companies, for example, or social organizations. And we're set up by Dutch law, and I think we try to do is to set up a healthy society in a broad sense, and regarding sustainability and safety and security. So please to the next slide. And my position especially about the ICT and AI and how can we grasp it. If we then take into account the Netherlands perspective, we have a lot of manufacturing companies. Some are a bit big, international companies, but also a lot of smaller and medium enterprises. There are only 1 or 2 people, and or something about 100 people, and just not the biggest organizations. And the biggest challenge within this smart manufacturing, within the supply chain, is that we need a lot of information from each other to make our products, for example. And how are we going to do that? Because the data is scattered, how are we going to share information? And that's at this moment a really big challenge. And this is the thing that we brought up within the DIH4AI project. And together with Fortis, which is based in Munich in Germany, we actually tried to see, okay, can we set up a thing so we can learn from each other? And also Fortis is more an expert on the legal part. So how can we also do not only from technical, but also from a legal part? Next slide, please. So this is the thing, the previous slide was regarding the problem statement that we're going to use, but STNO, we're also a digital innovation hub, and as being said, we offer multiple services, because these were the services that were actually being offered. And the experiment, as mentioned during the problem statement, was regarding setting up blueprints for smart manufacturing companies, as well using our testbed, our AI testbed that is currently available. So it's from the perspective of our service, we have an ecosystem service and we have a technology service, because we don't want to push technology only, because it should have a benefit from a business perspective. So having said that, next slide, please. These are the things that are in scope. The experiment is about a so-called Industry 4.0. It's an initiative from Germany, setting up a safe and secure smart industry domains, where you can share your data on a secure manner, where we have a lot of technology under the hood. I don't want to explain it today, because then Jaime and Massimo will be really angry to me, because then I'll have 2 or 3 hours, but we can share the links afterwards. And what we also did is the RAMI model. It's a theoretical model from the Industry 4.0. Okay, how can companies collaborate? So please go to the next slide. What we try to do is not, STNO is not developing our technologies ourselves, so it's invented only at TNO. What we try to do is, okay, what are the current trends within Europe, because we have a European perspective, and what can we learn? And what we actually saw is that within Europe, we are going to set up by the European Commission all kinds of new legislations and other stuff regarding the so-called data spaces. So how can smaller and medium enterprises collaborate with each other? And what we try to do is actually adopting a new initiative, or at that moment a new initiative a few years ago called IDS, International Data Spaces. And they were actually having a reference implementation, a reference architecture on how to implement at companies on an exchange information. So in theory, it's really simple. Each company will have its own technical connector, and from that technical connector, it's actually the front door where you can knock on if you would like to exchange data or not within certain policies. So that's actually what we try to do. During that time, also new initiatives came up like Gaia X on the cloud deployment, and maybe on the left, a lower part is called the asset administration. So it's a specific thing. It's a semantic standard within the smart industry, how you can define your so-called assets in a smart manufacturing domain. Please go to the next slide. So that's the standards where we actually based on. And if we then go to the Digital Innovation Hub perspective, is that if you're going to set up a network of digital innovation hubs, you should be able to exchange data. So you should implement a few things. For example, identification, authentication on a technical level. So this is actually the thing that what we've done over here. I don't want to explain it in detail. I think it can be explained later on, but especially the left lower part is important. If digital innovation hubs would like to collaborate and exchange data from an AI perspective, I think you have two flavors. Is that you have data as a digital innovation hub, which can be used for an algorithm. So your own data will be exchanged to a specific algorithm on another digital innovation hub. So you need to make agreements on how you're going to share the data and on what kind of access and use policies you would like to do. Or you have a different flavor, which is going to be explained today. It's called the algorithm to the data. It's called federated learning. So for example, within your own digital innovation hub, you have data that you can't leave the digital innovation hub because it's really sensitive. So what you could do then in theory is having an algorithm that's going to visit your digital innovation hub. So in our digital innovation, our DIH4AI project, we have multiple DIS available with their own data, and there's one algorithm is going to visit all the digital innovation hubs and can learn locally from the data. And the only thing that's going to leave the specific digital innovation hub is the learned or the trained model, and the data is still at the source and it's not being exchanged. So it reduces a lot of privacy and security risks from that perspective. So that's, I think, the thing that we've done in our experiment, which I'm going to explain later on. Maybe next slide. Just to do some feedback regarding federated learning in short. Of course, the slides will be distributed later on, but you have multiple data providers and you have one algorithm, a so-called machine learning model, that's going to visit all the data providers, in our case, a digital innovation hub, and you can learn multiple times. So you're going to do actually a round trip across the digital innovation hubs. And after one round trip, you can actually share the learned model, and you can learn like wisdom of the crowd. So that's a bit of what we've done. Now I'm going to share the screen. Let me see where I can do it. If one moment, I see the share screen button.
Yeah, now you should be able to share normally.
Yeah.
Okay.
One moment, I'm going to share. Let me see. Do you see?
Yes,
do you see something? Yes.
Yeah. Yes, it's on. Thank you.
Okay. Let me first start, because this is a screencast. We have multiple digital innovation hubs. So this is the Czech digital innovation hub that is available, and we have also other tabs on our Firefox browser, in that sense, or Chrome browser. And what you actually see is that in the beginning, all the data sets should be prepared. So all the data is locally available, and then we can install the algorithm and it will be shared amongst each other. So this is what we are going to see in the beginning. So for the Czechs, we're actually going to set the data set available that is being prepared for this one, for in the smart manufacturing. So you actually say prepare data set. It's being done also for the Fortis Digital Innovation Hub. So all the data is being prepared. And while preparing all the data sets at the Digital Innovation Hub, you also have in the background have the access and usage policies. Am I willing to exchange to have the algorithm locally installed or not? And this is what we what's being happening at all the local Digital Innovation Hubs. Let's wait for a while, and then later on we have the so-called where the algorithms are available, or the federated learning available is now doing a check within the Digital Innovation Hubs, which kind of data is currently available and which kind of Digital Innovation Hubs are available. So this is what's happening now. CA, CIRC, Fortis being there. I'm going to select my model, which I have as TNO. I have for the legal perspective also a purpose, the number of training rounds and whatsoever. So this is the whole installation and the configuration in our case of a neural network, how it could be done. I will speed up a little bit for the timing, and you can also have the whole configuration of the neural network, and we're actually based on standards that are being used across the world regarding AI. And what you actually later on have is actually say, okay, I'm going to start the federated learning. So the algorithm will be installed on the local Digital Innovation Hubs, and it will be trained on the local data itself. And from here, I think we have to wait. And what you now see is the different Digital Innovation Hubs, and okay, how can we improve our results locally? After a few rounds of training, I will speed up the process. And what you see is that the algorithm becomes smarter and smarter over time due to the local training and due to exchanging the local trained model to the master model, and you can see that that everything becomes smarter in that sense. And after a certain amount of time, we say, well, we know enough, and we have an algorithm that is really smart. And after all the learning, because this is what the experiment is about, is that you one moment too far, is that you actually can say after the model is being trained, you have a really smart algorithm available for, in our case, TNO developed the model, the algorithm. It learned on the local Digital Innovation Hubs, on the local data sets. So we now have a really smart model, and we can actually, if we would like to do it, actually sell the algorithm, saying, well, this is a trained algorithm for a specific purpose in the smart manufacturing, for example, for doing predictive maintenance on a specific machine. So that's currently available. And the nice thing is that within Europe, we also have a platform, it's called AI on Demand, where you can publish your trained models or your algorithms. And the coolest thing, where I'm really proud of in our project, is that together with all our partners, we're now able to train our algorithms locally on local privacy concerning data. And we actually can push later on our algorithm through Europe in that sense, and offer our algorithm to other organizations or smaller and medium enterprises via the AI on Demand platform. And the nice thing is that what we're done with Fortis in our example is that we also now have a legal thing available, is that we also have a background of our algorithm. So the algorithm is being trained on specific data sets, and we can publish our algorithm, and we can say, okay, it's being checked also. So you don't only install the algorithm, but you also know the history of the algorithm, where it's actually being learned on. So in our case, the accountability, and you can actually verify to the other Digital Innovation Hub, was it really your Digital Innovation Hub and your data that's being used? So that's, I think, a nice thing to have available. So for example, you have the algorithms, type of algorithm, the number of parties that were being used. So I think this is a really nice example of what the Digital Innovation or the DIH4AI project can offer, and also the collaboration together. So I think this is where we're actually heading within Europe. There's a big platform available, AI on Demand, where European companies and others can actually publish their data sets, but also their algorithms. And I think this actually gives you an extra improvement of the services that can be offered on that thing. So that's, I think, conclusion for today from a TNO perspective, and also from Fortis and Atos and our other partners within the project. You start with thinking of a service, And it's not only a technology push, but how can we help each other, and especially help smaller and medium enterprises. So I'm looking also for maybe later on today for the questions, or maybe in the chat. I don't see them, but thank you for this and for providing this message. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Simon, for the presentation and for the solutions solutions and services you showcased. I think there's a lot to digest in these presentations for the audience, so it might not actually be straightforward to ask questions straight away. But I assume you'll be at disposal in case they want to get in touch with you directly. Okay.
I only had 10 minutes, so
no worries. But it's normal. It's dense. It's supposed to be like this. So I think we can in the meantime, I think Jaime, you can share again the presentation, because I think the next presenter will need it. So as you can see, we have a presentation by Marc Duchon from Fortis on Smart Solar Box, the solution Smart Solar Box. I'm going to I don't see Marcus. Okay, Marcus, you should be able to talk now. No, we don't hear you. You are unmuted, but we don't hear you. Am I the only one? Sorry. Do you hear me at least? Okay, so okay, Marcus, I don't know what happened. Maybe try again, either with a cable. I don't know if you are in. Okay, now ask to unmute. Now it should. Okay. No, we still can't hear you. Okay, let's see what could go wrong. I'm not the only one not hearing you, so I don't think it should be a problem on my side. No, still nothing. I don't know if you'd rather maybe okay, now it should be okay. Now it should be okay. Okay, perfect. So the floor is all yours. It happens. This technical inconvenience can always happen.
Okay, then I think we can skip the first two slides.
No, go proceed with your presentation. Maybe a bit speedier, but that's okay. Okay.
That's okay. I think I won't take the whole 10 minutes, but
Perfect.
of all, thanks also to Simon for the interesting talk before. And what I want to talk about is the so-called Smart Solar Box. It was developed at Fortis during a workshop with students from the chair of the Technical University of Munich for electrical engineering and computer science. And I shortly just want to introduce what this box is about, because probably it could be also a starting point for the European-African cooperation, since we also deployed 2 boxes in India successfully in schools. So let's see what it is about, what are the visions, applications. So first of all, we start what it actually is. So what we see here is more or less the housing, the box, which is nicely painted also by students. And the purpose is more or less to have a smart, intelligent, and portable solar power generator. So for off-grid situations, and it's also scalable. It's easy available with off-the-shelf components you can easily buy anywhere. And it supports, depending on the interior, more or less AC as well as DC for USB charging or some 12-volt charging devices. And of course, with the so-called smartness, you can also add own features, which I'll explain later on. So if we go on the next slide, just some more information. So currently how the setup is, we have 12 or 24 voltage supported, not too much of power output, so 10 amps, 120 watts, 240 watts. The battery is a lithium iron phosphate battery. We also had a version with a lead accumulator, whereas with that housing without ventilation and stuff like that, this is the more better way to go. And this is a small system with 300 watt hours, so not too large. And what we can also see in the picture is a PV panel, which is attached to it with red and black wires. So it's more or less autonomous, and also the computer, it's a Raspberry Pi inside, is powered by a solar battery, and it could remain overnight time. So we can probably also go on the next slide. And that Raspberry Pi I mentioned within the box is opens up its own solar network, its own wireless network. So it has also a web server where you can see that little dashboard on the right-handed side, where you can also control the load switch, so turn off the power socket. And now we have issues with the slide, but probably you'll have them back right now or soon. So you can remotely control that thing, and by scanning these QR codes, you can connect to the Wi-Fi network, and also connect directly to the dashboard, and can also do some management functions to change passwords and stuff like that, and see the actual monitoring of the system. And if we go on the next slide, we see more or less what can be done with such a small device. So we can charge a drone up to 4 times, or power a micro fridge for 4 hours, or even lights on the lower right for around about 40 hours if it's only 5 watts. So these are just example appliances or gadgets you can connect. What we did at Fortis, but probably come to that on the next slide. Because in India, as I said, we deployed several or 2 of these boxes already in schools. And there the background is also the not very well in shape infrastructure, with especially in the outskirts where people are struggling. And therefore it could be used as a power supply for off-grid use cases, to maintain at least low loads for charging purposes, or even light during nighttime. So this works rather good. And what we did also is to use it for solar education. So bringing together more or less these 2 domains, from electrical engineering, how to build such a box, what are the components of it, and also from IT, what is the software stack behind it. And since we are also in the domain of artificial intelligence, what we can do also for research purposes is more or less define the charging state of the battery by machine learning techniques. So in order to have a digital twin of the battery by monitoring the current discharging and charging rates, and therefore assume more or less according from different features as the temperature and the voltage rate, which is more difficult in lithium iron phosphate batteries than in lead batteries. So there's a rather easy thing according to the voltage level to determine the current state of charge of the battery. So this can be done with machine learning. Also the other way around, since it's connected to a PV cell, we can also do or perform forecasting for the power generation, and also implement management algorithms in order to foster energy management, since we also added several interfaces. So beforehand, in the talk from Simon, we heard about the asset administration shell. That principle is more or less also implemented in that box by using an OPC-UA server, which is hosted on that machine, so you can easily access all the available information via an industry protocol. Also REST API is implemented. That box can also subscribe and publish the current states on an MQTT message bus. And this is also how we use it in our laboratory currently. So in other research projects, we connect that smart entity to an energy market, to a decentral energy market, where it can more or less offer what it's currently generating or what is stored in the battery, and then also start discharging according to price signals. And furthermore, we also have connected another smart charging station for bidirectional charging in order to try to power an e-scooter in our lab more renewable than from normal grid. So there we can distinguish into charging box what's the current state of charge, what's the current generation in the solar box, and therefore decide whether we charge from the solar box or from the grid directly, depending on the needs. So it's a multi-purpose device, I would say, which is also scalable. So what we recently observe also in industry are those container stacked batteries, which are also equipped either with wind turbines on top or with PV cells, also connected to hydrogen generation. So the general principle is also within that simple box we developed. And of course, other use cases, camping, picnics, where you need, I don't know, a fridge or something like that. Also emergency power supply, where either these containers, depending on the needs, another scaled solution could be used. Or as we see on the next slide, I think there are some more applications. No, those are workshops we conducted. So these are pictures from the workshops in India at schools, where also that device is currently running. And we also deployed one of these boxes in a partnering network, the so-called Bayern Labs, which are quite popular and for the general public in order to understand digitization and technology. So this would be it from my side and for the Smart Solar Box. And if you have any questions or see any connections, then feel free.
Yeah, indeed. Thanks a lot, Marcus. Again, as I said to Simon, there's a lot to unpack there, so it might be hard for people maybe to ask direct questions now. But in terms of connections and so on and so forth, I see an incoming question exactly on how and if there will be a possibility for DIHs in Africa to get into, to connect to DIHs in Europe to maybe to work on shared solutions and to share best practice and technical capabilities and so on and so forth. So it's not a question directed to you, but of course you were mentioning the idea of collaborating. And I think that this is actually the whole idea of the event. The event is to showcase these opportunities to see who are some relevant actors in Europe and in Africa, to kickstart collaborations between these sectors and to onboard as many partners as possible in the near future, or also to widen the geographical scope of the collaboration, maybe in your case on this specific technology, but of course we have DIHs working on many different technologies also in your case, I guess. So I thank you dearly for your presentation, and I think we can move on. And now we switch to HUBiquitous. After all these interesting presentations about the DIH4AI, and we'll have Hartwell. Yeah, we have Hartwell. I am Bilico. Sorry, Hartwell, for maybe butchering your surname. From Cloudport. Of course, Hartwell is partner of the HUBiquitous project and is working on service partner onboarding, and he'll tell you more about this, which actually might be interesting for all the DIHs that are connected, and we're also thinking about whether HUBiquitous will actually expand its geographical scope in the future. So Hartwell, I think we can hear you. Please talk.
Yes. Hello, Massimo.
Okay,
hello, everyone.
Perfect. So please, the floor is yours.
Yes, and good job on the name. You actually didn't butcher it. All right, so good morning from this side, and thanks to all the previous presenters, very interesting stuff. And I am here, as Massimo said, to talk about the engagement process for the associate partners of the HUBiquitous project. And so, next slide, please. Yes, so I'll go to the next slide. All right, so I'll just give a little background, but I think Servan has already given some details into the project and whatever is going on. So I won't really be talking much on that. So briefly, the whole point of the HUBiquitous project, as you have already heard, is to create a common ecosystem to foster long-term relationships and collaborations, right, between African and European startups, as well as the innovation ecosystem itself. And so the objective of the project is to support IoT capacity building of the local DIHs or tech hubs in Africa, right? And also to support the creation and development of IoT solutions. Now, to help do all this, we have the Solution Labs and the Meet Hub platform and the Learning Center, which was mentioned earlier. And then we have the 3 programs, the Train the Trainer program, the Talent program, and the Accelerator program. There's the 4th, which Servan talked about, which is the Community program, right? But for the engagement process, these are basically what we take advantage of. So the 3 programs make use of the Solution Labs and the Meet Hub platform, right? And these 3 programs are run in collaboration with our associate partners, which are the DIHs. Next slide, please. All right, so this is basically an overview of the entire engagement process. So how do we go about engaging these so-called associate partners, right? So the first thing is we identify and select the potential associate partners with the help of the local partners of the project, right? So currently in the 5 African countries that we have present, there are local partners who see to the activities of the project within that country, right? To make it easier to connect with the grassroots and to be able to connect properly with these DIHs and hubs that will be engaging. So these local partners help us identify hubs that would be a good fit for the project, right? So in selecting the hubs, there are a couple of things that we look at. There are some criteria to selecting the hubs. So we want the engagement to be as fruitful, as productive as possible. So we are looking for hubs that have access to or which have in-house a maker lab or a maker space where they can provide hands-on training to the participants we engage in the talent program, right? And we also look out for hubs which have experience in carrying out some capacity building programs in the past, so that it will be easier to organize all of the activities that we have planned. And also we look out for hubs that have some experience also carrying out boot camps and hackathons, so that again, it's easier to carry out the programs and activities that we have in mind. So once these hubs have been identified, we go ahead and then reach out to them. Of course, the local partners would have already reached out in a preliminary way to sort of introduce the project and talk to them about it already. So the next thing is to then reach out officially with an offer of engagement, right? Where we present to them everything concerning the project officially, and we give them more information on the engagement process, as well as the benefits to them, what they need to do, and all of that, right? And then we give them the roadmap that we are working with. Now, once they accept this offer of engagement, the next thing is to go ahead and onboard them, right? So the onboarding process involves a number of things. The first being the signing of a collaboration agreement. So in engaging these associate partners, there are actually currently 2 models that we work with. That is the service model and the technology model, right? So the service model is for the DIHs or hubs who will be helping us with capacity building programs like the talent program and the accelerator program, right? And then we have the technology partners who actually are being engaged for the first time in the second phase, right? So we didn't do that in the first phase, but in the second phase, we are engaging technology partners. Now, these technology partners are teams or startups who are working in the IoT space. And what the project seeks to do is to empower them to build the solutions that they have in mind, right? And to develop an MVP, which we will support them with, both technically and financially, so that they can build it out properly. And in the end, it's going to be beneficial to their local ecosystem, and it's going to help create awareness, right, of IoT and IoT solutions and how IoT can be used to impact the society. So each of these partners have their own collaboration agreements that they sign because the activities and the responsibilities vary a bit. So because of that, the collaboration agreements are different for both. But either way, both of them have to sign the collaboration agreement. Now, this is the legal contract that binds all of us, being HUBiquitous and the associate partners, and clearly states or outlines each partner's responsibilities and what we need to do. So when this has been signed, the next thing is to go ahead and send out or deliver to them the solution lab, right? Now, the solution lab is basically a kit that is filled with hardware components and also some software packages that can be used for building quickly IoT solutions, right? So these come with the basic components that any IoT project would need, like sensors, motor boards, things like that, and include some proprietary components as well, which are based on the WASI app technology. So we distribute these solution labs to the DIHs or the partners that we engage during this process. So once they have received that, the next thing is to go through the train the trainer program. Now, as I mentioned earlier, we are looking to build the capacity of these local hubs so that they can in turn help their local ecosystem develop their IoT capacity, right? So we seek to empower the trainers who will be doing the training and providing support to the grassroots so that they can be better equipped to do so, right? So the next thing is to go through the train the trainer program. Now, once the associate partner has been onboarded, we then go ahead and execute the program that we have, right? So this is either the talent program or the MVP development, depending on what type of partner we have. As I mentioned, we have the service partner and the technology partner. So a service partner will be going through the talent program, and the talent program is in two phases. We have the learning phase and the boot camps or hackathons, right? So the learning phase is where participants are brought together in a virtual environment, and HUBiquitous leads the training. So we provide training in the area of IoT, AI, and ML, right? And we do this over the span of 3 months, right? So over the course of 3 months, we take them through various concepts and various topics relating to IoT, artificial intelligence, and machine learning. And we leverage the Learning Center to provide this training as well. Now, while they do this, and we'll see this very shortly in the responsibility slide, but then the associate partners or the DIHs help us during this process, right? Even though we are providing the training, but they help us engage with the participants to keep track of them and to make sure that they are getting the most out of the training that we are given, right? And if they need any help or any support, they provide it in the background. Now, when we are done with all this, we go ahead to do the boot camps and hackathons. So each technology hub in their country, after the learning phase is done, is to organize a boot camp and a hackathon, right, for the participants. Now, the participants of the talent program are selected based on location and proximity to some of these hubs. So depending on the hub we engage, we categorize the participants of the talent program so that we know those who are close to a specific hub, which we have engaged. And then when it's time for the bootcamps and hackathons, it'll be easier for these participants to make their way to the hub so that they can be a part of the bootcamp and hackathon. So they organize this over the period of a month after the learning phase so that the participant can have that practical feel of all that they have been learning theoretically. And then they can also work on their ideas that they might have using the experience and knowledge that they have gained during the learning phase. Now, if you are a technology partner, during this period, as the talent program is going on, you will be developing your MVP, right? More on this later. So the MVP is also in two phases. The prototyping phase, where you prototype your solution, your idea, and afterwards, once you have that and you are satisfied, you tested it out, everything is well and good, you then go ahead and develop your actual MVP, right? And for technology partners, they are required to finish all this and be able to showcase it during the bootcamps and hackathons. Next slide, please. All right, so next we'll look at the responsibilities of all partners involved. And we start with the responsibilities of the associate partners. And I think I've mentioned some of these while I was going through the previous slide. So generally, all partners, whether technology or service, need to provide at least 2 IoT technicians, engineers, or trainers. So if you're a hub, this is probably going to be a trainer who participates in the train-the-trainer program. Now, technology partners are to develop their MVP and showcase the developed MVP at the opening ceremonies of the hackathons and bootcamps. And service partners are going to engage the talent program participants, as I said, in the background, providing support and assistance while the learning phase is going on, and afterwards organize a bootcamp and hackathon at their hub as part of the talent program. And also, they will provide support to the technology partner from their country where needed, especially since they will be showcasing their developed MVP at their bootcamp and hackathon. Next slide, please. So next, we look at the responsibilities of HUBiquitous in this engagement process. So basically, HUBiquitous, we will provide the associate partners with the solution lab infrastructure. And as I said, there's a kit of hardware and software packages, and we'll provide training and IoT capacity building for the team members of the associate partners to ensure they are well positioned to execute the activities that we have planned. And if you're a service partner, we'll work with you to organize the hackathon and bootcamp. And as a technology partner, we work with you as you develop the MVP and afterwards so that you can showcase it at the bootcamps and hackathons. And also we provide a budgetary allocation to each associate partner to aid them in all the activities they will be carrying out as part of the process, as part of the engagement process, right? Next slide, please. All right, so there are some deliverables associated with the partnership. Common to all parties is the collaboration agreement to be signed. For service partners, they also need to provide a strategy on how they will be engaging the talent program participants, as well as a detailed plan of events for the hackathon and bootcamps. We have templates for all of these, and as well as an information gathering document, which includes the CVs of the 2 trainers that they will be bringing on board. Technology partners have more deliverables to submit, of course, because their engagement is more technical. So basically, detailed specifications of their prototypes and MVPs, as well as their realization plan for their prototyping and MVP phases, and then technical documentations on their prototypes and the MVPs that they develop. Next slide, please. All right, so I'm sure most will wonder, how does this benefit the partners that we engage? Well, first of all, each partner receives financial and technical support while they execute whatever activities that they have been engaged to execute. So this could be a capacity building program or an MVP that they are developing. Now, this ties into the activities of these partners on what they have been working on already, right? So we provide financial and technical support to help them do what they have already been doing and to do it better. And also, the solutions that they develop are theirs. They only acknowledge having received funding from the project, but the MVPs they develop are theirs solely. And for service partners afterwards, they can leverage on the talent program to develop other capacity building programs of their own, which can go at a fee, right? What we do with them is free of charge to participants. And they also get to enrich their portfolio and gain more exposure because the whole project is focused on bringing together hubs from across Africa and from across Europe. And also they get access to a community of professionals and other organizations across Africa and Europe, as I said. And so they get to grow their network and to connect with other people. This is facilitated by the Meet Hub platform, which is currently in development, but then some of these features are already being used to engage the hubs and other partners. Next slide, please. Yes. So that is it for the engagement process. I hope I've been able to satisfy some of the questions that you might have had concerning this, but you can go ahead and ask any other questions if you have them, and we will address them. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Hartwell, for this great presentation. Indeed, there certainly are opportunities for potential partners around Africa to join. Again, as it was mentioned by Servan, this should be rather maybe discussed directly with you or with specific people within the consortium, because I saw to Hartwell on the website it mentioned also experts. Do you have time around? Okay, no, this is something okay, just a brief parenthesis. The experts, we select experts for them to evaluate proposals that are submitted for the accelerator program. It is something different. But anyway, again, all the presentation will be made available, and you'll have the relevant context to ask these different questions to the person responsible for that bit of the project. So no worries. So we are slightly late on schedule, so maybe we'd rather move on. And now sorry, I'm muted. The presentations of one of the DIHs within HUBiquitous, and we have Daniel Chinagosi from HUB to give a short presentation about the DIH and the solutions developed within the DIH. Daniel, can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can. Your presentation, okay. It should be, yeah, it's on the screen. So of course, go with it.
Okay. Yeah, thank you, everyone. Thank you, Maximo. Hartwell has done a lot of work for me. So he has laid the foundation of what is expected of the DIHs of the program. The beautiful thing is that most of the solutions I'm going to be presenting today and the people I'm going to be talking about, we are majorly people that started from the talent program. When we launched the talent program last year, we had applications from all parts of Africa. The teams that were from Nigeria, we made available 2 locations where they could actually go and have physical experience by the support of the solution lab. As they were learning online, most of the online learning we had an online learning platform, and they had series of trainings around IoT, trainings around embedded systems engineering, and how to build solutions. So we had entry-level applicants, we have intermediate, we had senior level applicants, and we had all of them join the sections and build to learn. And after that, we ended up in a hackathon, a boot camp that taught them on how to ideate, on how to select solutions to be built, and the solutions to work on, and also gave them opportunity to pitch to their teams and then form teams for the hackathon. And after the hackathon and the boot camp, we had a number of startups that came up. If you go to the next slide, we had different teams that came out of that talent bootcamp. Well, we had Fingat. Fingat is an IoT solution that is used in organizations to take attendance, to make sure that, because especially for government organizations where there are ghost workers, where people can actually ask people, instead of using the manual signing, sheet signing in their communities, you come, you use your fingerprint, and you activate yourself and enter the building, and then that also automatically populates into a dashboard where the leaders of the organization or the HR has access to. Then iRig is an automated irrigation system that helps for irrigating, detecting water losses in farms, in communities, and then support, and then automatically puts on the irrigation system. So it makes sure at the time the farmland needs water, it gives it so that you don't have waterlogged issues. We have evolved. This has a smart control that helps people detect, protect them from overloading, okay, and electricity theft. Because what happens is that sometimes in some communities in Africa, you see some people, when they are disconnected from the power generation companies, they go and tap electricity from other neighbors, okay? So you know when you are experiencing tapping, because Evolved protects you, make sure you are not, people are not stealing the electricity from you, or people are not using what they've not paid for. These are all homegrown solutions and local solutions that are designed. Now, the iRig team had also worked on a prototype, which is very interesting. What they have done is, because they want to increase the number of people that are practicing farming, they are using different solutions, and then they have had a number of farm demonstrations for their programs. Okay, next slide, please. And then we've had the drip beep. The drip beep is an IoT solution for the medical industry, where a lot, when there is an infusion set for a patient, and then the drip beep has a way of, is an IoT device that allows the medical professional, when there is two things, when the infusion is going down, when the infusion is finishing, or when there is a swell. You know, sometimes you put set an infusion and you notice that the patient is having a swelling on their hand or anywhere you have done the infusion. So that it also alerts the medical personnel in case the medical personnel is not at that location, and the medical personnel is able to attend to the person. But I'm going to be narrowing down on Fingat. So Fingat is a solution that was built locally by the students that were a part of the hackathon and the bootcamp. Next slide, please. And they built this solution from the scratch. And the beautiful thing also, the casing of the solution, the initial casing they rolled out with, was also built at our laboratory with a 3D printer. So the casing was designed, was printed with a 3D printer, and then they did their initial prototype, and then they rolled out what they so they want to eradicate ghost workers. They want to make sure people are punctual in organizations, and then they based it on ESP32 microcontroller development board, and then they have a wireless LAN is connected to at each of the locations, because what happens is that it automatically uploads the attendance into the cloud. And we didn't want to make it in such a way it would be difficult for it was set to work, to be uploaded to a Google Sheet. So you are able, anybody can work in any organization at any level. So it's uploaded to a Google Sheet, and you're able to make a decision based on that. So they have a local team, and they were lucky enough to also apply for the accelerator program and got into the accelerator program of the HUBiquitous program. And they've had a number of prototype designs, and they have closed at least 4 deals from major clients. They've had 4 schools they've deployed their solution to, and they have, okay, next slide, please. Next slide. Okay, so their program started from the hackathon, the online program, where they learned, and then they had an instructor-led, physical instructor-led section where any questions they had instructor at the location to support them, and then they pitched at the hackathon and they got into the program. The beautiful thing is that most of the solution already have users that have started using it, paid customers. 4 schools are already using it. There's a local government area in Aba North that is being deployed, and they've had a deal with, it's already being used at the Innovation Hub itself. We were their first testing customers, though we were not a paid customer because we were providing them support and testing, but we also got them their first 4 schools to work with, and now they are closing a deal with
Perfect. We hear you. We hear you. Please.
Can you hear me now? Okay.
Yeah. We hear you. We hear you.
Okay, next slide, please. So the teams have been working, and even after the hackathon, they kept working. They have space at the hub. They have dedicated space at the lab where they are using to build their solution. They were part of the accelerator program, and they've actually also spoken to a number of, they are bootstrapping, getting ready to expand, and then getting to increase the number of people. And they, last week, they made a presentation to me that they want to change their casing to make it slicker and to make the display board more interactive, so that you're able to, they're able to deploy to larger markets beyond our current location. So there has been a lot of success story for them. And then they are also working, they have like 4 members of their team that are working full-time on the project, both engineering, design, and marketing. Next slide, please. Next slide. This is when they did their pitching and they were getting feedbacks from the mentors. Next, we had mentors to support them during the bootcamp and the hackathon. Next slide.
No, I think that was the
Okay.
the last one.
Yeah, there was a slide that I missed out. Where I showed the dashboard where it's been uploaded. Okay, I think that slide is not here.
Okay,
yeah.
you can give a closing remark on this if you want.
Yeah, so these teams have also naturally gotten into the accelerator program, and they've actually been improving their solutions, and they are currently also developing a dashboard such that the user is able to tweak a lot of things, and the user is able to customize the dashboard to suit his own need. The user is able to upload shifts, because right now their back end, you can only upload all your stuff, and then their fingerprints, their biometrics on it. But right now, what they are developing, you're able to select shifts. So if you are on morning shift and if you're on afternoon shift and you come in the morning and put in your fingerprint, it will not let you in. So they're actually working on that improvement. It's a work in progress, and is actually most of these people came into the program without any technology skills. So this program has actually done a lot to improve their skills, and then given them opportunity to work on a real life project. And we're glad about it. And we're getting ready for the second phase of the talent program and to continue the HUBiquitous program. Great. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Great. A great presentation, Daniel. And indeed, we commend the work you're doing within the project, because we really see that actually many interesting solutions are coming from your DIH. And of course, we look forward to the next phase of the project to give you to see many more interesting solutions pop up. We are slightly late on schedule, so we should directly move to the last presentation of the day. A brief introduction of course, Moitas he wears two different hats. One within the project, and the other one outside the project. In this case, he's presenting AfriLabs, a big network of DIHs in Africa. And although they are not formally part of the project, we thought it would actually be interesting for you, especially maybe for the Europeans, to get to know such an interesting potential partner that can relay, of course, asks that might come from Europe can be relayed through them to the different DIHs in Africa, and of course to foster collaboration. Moitas, do you hear us?
Yes, can you hear me, Massimo?
Yes, perfect. And you can proceed with your presentation.
Yeah, thank you, Massimo, for the introduction. So my name is Mu'taz Helmi, and as Massimo mentioned, I have different hats, and one of them I'm a partner in the consortium in HUBiquitous with my hub district spaces located in Egypt, in Cairo. And the same, I'm board chair for AfriLabs. So AfriLabs is one of the biggest network of digital innovation hubs and hubs across the continent. Can we go next slide, please? So basically in Africa, we estimate that one of our last report we had that we have around 1,000 hubs across the continent in 54 African countries. AfriLabs account around 400 innovation hubs in 52 African countries. Our headquarters is based in Abuja, Nigeria. It's we have a team of around 40 leaders there. Then our network is composed of different type of hubs. We have co-working spaces, we have incubators, accelerators, and as well, Daniel is with his hub, IG Hub. They are one of the hubs, our member hubs in Nigeria. So we currently we run different projects and programs across the continent. One of them is the AfriLabs Capacity Building Program, which is a 2 million euros fund to support our member hubs in through capacity building programs and regional boot camps as well. Other program that we are running currently with the IBAN Africa Business Engine Network is a 1.5 million euros matchmaking fund. It's dispersed to support engine investment up to 60,000 euros per step. So it's called Catalytic Africa, and you can go check it online. Also, the AfriLabs, you can see it online. Yes, please. So to give you a little background on the AfriLabs, on how it works on the innovation ecosystem and startups in Africa. So basically, last year the ecosystem in Africa raised around 6.5 billion USD. So the continent, there are 4 main countries that secure around 80% of the total fund that comes from investors. So we always have Nigeria heading the investment round. So we have last year Nigerian startup secured around 1.2 billion USD, followed by South Africa 830 million, and then we have Egypt on third. Ghana. So basically those 4 countries. So it's a little, I mean, we see all the investment coming to those 4 or 5 countries, and it's not balanced yet. That's why we, as a network as well, we are trying to share knowledge across borders as well. And we think that those countries have a very important role to expand knowledge and expertise to neighbor countries as well. So if we go to next slide, so which African countries, if you go the next one, please. So here we are. Last year we have, as I mentioned, so as you see, those are the distribution of the investment that goes to the startups ecosystem, mainly the tech startups. So as you see, always Nigeria, South Africa, Egypt, then Kenya and Ghana are. So we monitored around 764 deals that secured 6.5 billion USD. And by the way, this number the year before it was like around 5 billion, so we just increased 1 billion. It's slightly higher than last year, but overall the total investment and that goes to startup is not enough, I would say, and I think it's. The number is very high compared in Europe or the US, which can account up to 700 billion or something. So it's a very tiny amount, and we are working very hard to see how we attract more investment to the ecosystem, especially the technology ecosystem. So also what we noticed this year that we have a significant increase in debt funding, so 1.5 billion in 2022 compared to I think like 1/3 of this amount on 2021. So debt funding is started to be something important in the ecosystem as well. In 2021 we had the 14 mega deals. Into 2022 we have 7 mega deals. So the number of mega deals decreased a little bit. And yeah, that might be also because of COVID and other instability in the region. So if you can check the Partech report, they have all this number is published last week. So please go ahead and check if you want to check more on the dynamics of funding that goes to the ecosystem. So next, please. So for the attractive sectors in Africa, if you go next, in the next slide, we'll see that most of the money that comes to the startup ecosystem, they go mainly to the fintech. So 40% goes to fintech. It was the year before, it was, I think, even higher. It was like 60% due to one of the biggest investment that happened to the fintech ecosystem. So fintech has been always very attractive for investors in Africa. That's I would say that's have a lot of reasons. One of them that I mean, it's most of the investors trying to avoid technologies that has hardware components and have this, because this is in Africa, it's still in a lot of countries very hard to bring on hardware components like VR or IoT. So I think there is still this concept on investors level that they prefer to invest in something in a sector that is leapfrogging and that doesn't really faces a lot of regulations challenges on the ground. So it's also we noticed that here in the slide that we have around 5 sectors that secure around 50% of the funding, which is clean tech, e-commerce, mobility, health tech, and real estate. So this is a little. I'm presenting these slides to show that where are the areas of interest for investors. And for sure, when we talk about investor, we don't talk about digital innovation hubs, because most of the investors prefer to put money into startup ecosystem, not the DIH. So for DIH in Africa, we think, or what really big part of the funding that goes to DIH in Africa are coming from grants money, not from investing money. So it's totally different dynamic and money coming into the ecosystem. So if we go next as well, those are the number of investors who invested last year in the African ecosystem. We can go next. So we, based on Partech report, there are around more than 1,100 investors that invested last year. 8 investors from those investors who actually did like several investment round, up to 15 deals. We can notice there are 20 up to 10 deals and 89 up to 5 deals. If we go next, so here I put this slide to talk a little bit about the third wave and the different waves of digital transformation and technology in the continent. So this is a very important, actually, book that explain the different wave of technology and innovation that's happening across the world, and it was written by Steve Case, one of the founder of America Online back then. And Steve Case is a consultant for the U.S. government, and here he's speaking about how recently actually we are transforming from the 80s where we built the internet, and then the 20s where we started this app economy phase and mobile app phase, where we've seen a lot of innovation like app economy innovation like Facebook and Google and Twitter. And we are currently starting a new phase. And here is where the interesting part can be studied and explained, that the third wave started in some countries and this started in other countries. And it's very important when we want to actually to do this kind of bridging between digital innovation hubs and hubs in Africa and Europe, to really understand that we are not on the same wave, and what we are trying to do with a project like HUBiquitous and other project AI is really to try to minimize this gap between the second and third wave in the different continents. So the third wave we are here, it's driven by people, products, platform, and partnership and policies, which is very different from the second wave, which is startups are more focused into software solutions and app economy. So it's very important when we speak or when we design programs and support programs to the African ecosystem to really consider this difference in waves and try to understand in which phase are we and how we can actually design products and programs that can really respond to the different ecosystem. So that's my very fast presentation for today. And yeah, thank you, Massimo, for that.
Thank you, Moit, to explain that there's a lot bubbling underneath the surface, as to say, in Africa, and there's a lot of, there's plenty of opportunities that should be exploited, let's say, and fostered. So I really thank you for this kind of comprehensive, for this good and comprehensive presentation. I think, 1 second, Jaime is telling me something. You wanted to be? I'm muted. Okay. You see muted. Okay, Jaime?
Yes, no, just go for your closing remarks. I'll tell a
Okay.
couple of words later.
Okay, so well, we don't have much time, so I'll be brief. So it's pretty clear from these two sessions that there's room for cooperation between the two continents at different level, at project level, at the level of different actors. We see that both in Africa and Europe there are talents that can actually be put to work to solve many of the challenges that are ailing this world nowadays. So we really look forward to a close collaboration in the future. We really hope that this event kind of gave you an idea of how this cooperation can be built, whom you can relate to, or whom you can address your requests to, in order to foster this collaboration. And of course, feel free to get in touch with any of the people you saw presenting today, also to myself and to other consortium partners within the two projects. If you think you have nice ideas to share with us, and I think also Jaime wanted to give some closing remarks.
Thanks, Massimo, for the closing remarks. I just wanted to point out that you can find my email and that of Noemi in the chat. So if you want to reach out to us, and also maybe we can also put you in contact with Simon and Marcus if you're interested in some aspects of more detail on their experiments. And I also would like to thank everybody for joining today and to all the presenters. And
just one last quick questions. Most probably the presentations will be shared. I haven't discussed directly with all the presenters, but I don't see why they should disagree. And also the recording will be made available surely on our social medias, and also maybe individually if that's needed, but surely on the social medias in the coming days.
Same from our side, our
Okay.
social media and
I
website.
think we can close the event, and thank you again for taking part to the event, and I hope you enjoyed it. Bye.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye.
Bye-bye.